The reason why you chronically pick at your skin, chronically pull at your hair or bite at your body is because you grew up in an environment that didn't teach you how to experience, communicate, feel, and regulate emotion. And that's not to say that your parents didn't love you. You could have felt so loved as a child. That doesn't mean your parents knew how to regulate and express and communicate their own emotions. And if they didn't know how, they couldn't teach you how to do it. And it's something we cannot learn on our own. We must learn it from someone else. If instead of learning how to navigate it, we're shamed and we learn to feel bad about feeling bad, we need to find a way to cope because we're not being taught how to cope with it healthily. So we got to find a way, and we'll find a way on our own. Skin picking is one of those ways that we find. Hair pulling, nail biting, scrolling, drinking, drugs, binge watching Netflix, binge eating food. Anything that gives us an instant fix, an instant sense of relief, an instant sense of escape, an instant relief from that pressure, will do it. And so the whole point of doing the deep work to healing from these behaviors, what will truly set you free from them, is learning how to come back to yourself and to feel everything without becoming overwhelmed and shutting down or running away or distracting ourselves or avoiding. When you know that no matter what happens, you can handle it, when you have that level of trust within yourself, you'll stop worrying about the future. You'll start to live more in the present. You'll let go of the past and realize that who you are is enough and you always were. As long as we avoid feeling, we avoid healing, and we will continue to pick. Once we start to allow ourselves to feel, we will start to heal, and we will start to take genuine steps forward in healing and finding freedom from things like chronic skin picking, hair pulling, and nail biting. You're listening to the Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling podcast. And if you want more support in your own healing journey, make sure you hit like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on upcoming episodes. My name is Raffaela Marie. I am your host. I healed from 15 years of chronic skin picking through a holistic and science-based approach. And for the past 3 years, I've been helping incredible people just like you to heal like I did. That's what this is all about. Let's get into it. Here's what happens when we don't know how to feel our feelings. We really, really struggle to regulate ourselves because the only true way to actually regulate your emotions is to learn how to feel them fully from start to finish. Most of us only learn how to experience the hardest part of difficult emotions. If you get really angry, you weren't held and guided through that anger into experiencing how it feels to calm down. You were shut down in the most intense experience of that anger. You were sent to your room. You were shamed and told that you're being ungrateful, or your sadness was dismissed and you were left alone in that sadness. You weren't guided and shown how to actually experience sadness healthily so that you can let it go and move on. So many of the emotions that we get stuck in and we're afraid of feeling is because we didn't learn how to experience it fully. And so we have this fear of feeling that emotion, because we only know the worst part of it. And we get stuck in this loop of feeling the worst part of it, distracting ourselves through skin picking, hair pulling, nail biting, binge eating, scrolling on TV, drinking, distracting ourselves through work, anything, because we're afraid of what will come if we sit in that too long, because we never learned how to sit in it. We don't know what comes next. And so we're stuck in this subconscious loop and we're never really truly regulated. Most people with a body-focused repetitive behavior, they're stuck in a chronic state of dysregulation because we chronically didn't learn how to process emotion. And if you chronically didn't learn how to process emotion, how to feel emotion, then you cannot regulate yourself healthily. And so what happens? We feel out of control. Because when we are in that intense feeling of emotion, we do feel out of control because that's how we felt as a kid. And so what do we do when we feel out of control? We try to control things. We become perfectionists, overachievers. We set really high expectations for ourselves and we push and we strive because we feel like, at least I have control over that. And we find a sense of relief and satisfaction and soothing in having control. We try and think about the future and predict things and control what happens next. Or we go the opposite way and we run from responsibility. We run from making decisions. It's whatever you think, whatever you want. I'm easy. I'm go with the flow and chill and easy. I used to switch between the two. In my work, I was a massive perfectionist and control freak. With my friends and in my day to day life, I was easy, go with the flow. I never had an opinion, didn't rock the boat, because that's how I maintain control. That's how I avoided feeling any of the uncomfortable feelings that I didn't know how to fully sit with and understand. Now, what happens when we live a life that is dictated by perfectionism, dictated by the need to be in control, dictated by the need to prove ourselves, by the need to achieve, to get shit done, by the need to not rock the boat, to not be a burden, to not be too much for everyone, but also to be enough at the same time. It creates a life that is exhausting. It creates a life that does not give back to us. It creates a life that perpetuates dysregulation. If we did not learn how to feel our feelings, we didn't learn how to regulate. And so our baseline has become dysregulation. And so that is the life that we will build around us. That is the internal environment that will be inside of us, with having a loud inner critic, a lot of pressure, and not feeling the space that we can actually slow down and just relax. And the external environment of constantly having shit to do, or constantly having problems or arguments, or avoiding conflicts, waking up and not wanting to get out of bed, not looking forward to the day. Because your day is dysregulating, and you don't have things inside your day that make you actually feel good. Now, on the flip side, if you learnt how to feel your feelings, if you're guided through that, it doesn't prevent you from experiencing perfectionism or from experiencing a stressful life. It doesn't prevent that at all, but it does give you more opportunities to feel good, to feel like you are deserving of feeling good. You avoid things less and you feel more. And the more we feel, the more we experience from life, because your emotions are your body's language. And the better you can speak your body's language, the better you can understand what is going on inside of you and what is going on outside of you. And the better you understand that, the more you're going to get out of life. It's like you have a friend, but you don't speak the same language. You might have some nice connections in some ways, but if you can't communicate at all, there could be a lot of misunderstandings, and the relationship could only go so deep. There's going to be a lot of missing information. But if you learn to speak each other's language, you learn to communicate and understand each other, suddenly things become so clear and more vibrant and deeper. It's the same with yourself. And the good news is that your nervous system is designed and has developed over the past hundreds and thousands of years to help you to process emotion. It is designed to process emotion. We just didn't learn how to allow our nervous system to do its job. And so our mind gets in the way a lot and attaches a lot of stories and beliefs to those feelings so that we don't allow ourselves to feel them, so that we avoid them instead. And so we get stuck in this constant, perpetual state of dysregulation. And maybe you're resonating with a lot of what I'm saying with the perfectionism, the overachieving, the feeling stuck, the feeling like you can't slow down, but you feel like, well, I don't feel dysregulated. If you resonated with everything I just said then, and you're thinking, well, I don't feel that dysregulated, it's probably because dysregulation has become your normal and you've forgotten what it feels like to actually be regulated. I hear a lot of people who I talk to, they'll say, yeah, I end up picking on the lounge while I'm watching TV, but I'm so relaxed. I'm not stressed. I feel all right. You're still dysregulated. If you're chronic skin picking or hair pulling while you are quote unquote relaxing, it's because your nervous system is still dysregulated. If you've had a really big day, you are going to be dysregulated. Even if you're not upset, dysregulation does not mean you're upset or you feel like shit. It just means you have excess energy and emotion pumping through your body that you need to regulate and process so that you can come down to a neutral space of energy that is actually relaxing and rejuvenating, not just switching off and numbing out. A huge amount of the work that I do with people is helping them to feel their feelings and to move towards the things they're afraid of, because the things that they're afraid of it because they have stories around the emotions that they feel about that thing. And the longer we avoid feeling things, the more we're going to perpetuate that dysregulation, which perpetuates the behaviors of skin picking and hair pulling and nail biting. And if you want to go deeper into this work and you want to build more emotional safety, become that version of you that is truly grounded and secure and is able to slow down and just be, then I invite you to come join us in Strength Pathfinder. This is a 6-month program designed to help you do exactly what I just said, with direct support from me, connection to other incredible people on the same journey of you, and a really thorough online program. So you can go on this journey at your own pace. If you would love to apply to join, click on the link in the show notes. So that's the origins of why you pick, pull, or bite at your body. It's because you didn't learn how to feel your feelings. You didn't learn how to express them, how to communicate, how to regulate them. And because of that, you found other ways to cope. But the thing is, you deserve so much more than just coping through the rest of your life. You deserve to live a life that is in itself soothing and regulating. You deserve to be able to just slow down and just be and enjoy being who you are, adore being who you are. That's what it's like to live a life where you are predominantly regulated, where you know how to feel your feelings. It doesn't eliminate all the hard stuff. It just makes the hard stuff less scary so that you can focus on actually living instead of trying to cope and avoid all the scary things, all the big emotions. Now, the question is, how do we actually feel our feelings? Where do we start? The first place to start, the absolute first place to start, is to start to connect to your body, because your body is where you experience emotion. And so if we are disconnected from our body and don't really know how to identify different sensations or experiences inside the body, then we're not going to be able to connect to the emotion. A lot of people want to just dive in and start feeling feelings, but it is a process and we need to respect and honor your process and not rush things or force things. So the first place to start, just take a moment now with me. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out and just become aware of your body. Notice the different sensations, if there are any, maybe in your hands, your shoulders, your stomach, your chest, your legs, your feet. Just notice if there are any sensations that are standing out to you, whether it's numbness, tingling, warmth, cold. What are you noticing going on inside of your body? And don't worry if you don't know. There are 2 paths we can go down. If you can relatively easily identify some sensations inside your body, there's a pathway we can go down with that. But I first want to address, if you don't know, if you can't really connect, if you can't really identify what's there, or it feels a bit hazy, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to focus on external sensations. So that means take an ice cube from the freezer and hold that ice cube and focus on feeling the sensations that that brings up in your hand, how that feels. Make yourself a tea and hold it and notice how the heat feels in your fingers. When you go outside and you feel the sun on your skin, notice how that feels against you. Rather than focusing on the internal sensations, focus on the external. Because if you cannot identify internal sensations, it's simply because you have learned to completely disconnect from your body, because you were left alone with a lot of big emotions, which means you had to disconnect. And so in this space, we want to really gently and slowly teach you that it's safe to start to reconnect, that it's okay, that you can handle it, which means taking it slow and just focus on connecting to the external sensations. Now, if you can connect to the internal sensations, you're going to do the same thing that I described before, but internally. When you go outside for a walk, notice how that makes you feel internally. Maybe you can't label the emotions, but notice what sensations come up inside your body, because our body is constantly responding to our environment and to our thoughts and to how we feel. There is always something there. If you're patting your dog or cuddling your cat, notice what that brings up inside of you. If you hug a friend, notice what that brings up inside of you. If you're starting to get frustrated, notice what that brings up inside of you. The first thing that you are going to do in learning how to feel your feelings is just notice what's there. Notice these sensations. That's it. And if you practice just noticing, and when I say notice, I don't mean cling on to it and start to dissect it and go into why is that there? What's happening here? How can I get rid of this? Because we often go into that space. It's so easy to slip into that. just notice. Noticing is us not trying to fix it. It's just noticing and acknowledging that it's there and it's present. It's like you're going on a walk and you see a flower, you'll notice the flower and you might appreciate it. But clinging on to it is ripping that flower out of the ground, taking it home and focusing on it, thinking, how can I make sure that this flower survives? And hyper focusing on that flower and freaking out about it. But that just keeps us more stuck in the emotion, because it is a way, overthinking how you're feeling is a way of avoiding how you're feeling, because you get in your head. We're practicing bringing you into your body just by noticing what's there. That is the first place to start, and the most effective place to start to learn how to feel your feelings. And essentially what we're doing is we are unlearning to judge our feelings and judge ourselves for having them, and giving ourselves the space to allow our nervous system to just do its job. The hardest part is teaching ourselves to give ourselves the space to allow that to happen, because we are almost constantly on go and constantly busy, constantly doing something, constantly feeling like we need to fix something. And so to actually slow down and just give ourselves space, it's very challenging, but that's where the healing happens. Learn how to give yourself space, and that happens by just noticing what's there. And I really encourage you to get support in sitting with those more intense emotions. Get support in learning how to just sit and notice and just be. It's something that I do with my clients all the time, because it is such an important aspect of this healing journey. So if you would like support from me, you can reach out directly to me and I can see how I can support you. If you already have a therapist, you can do this work with your therapist. That is, in a nutshell, why we pick, pull, and bite at our body, and what we can do about it to address the root cause, rather than waste years on trying to just stop the behavior. I mean, this is why we can't just stop the behavior, because if we try to just stop the behavior, we're still not dealing with, how do I actually feel what I'm feeling? We're not dealing with the root cause. And skin picking and hair pulling and nail biting, they are so accessible. No other behavior will be as accessible as them. And so we can't replace it with anything else. Emotion is energy. It needs to move, it needs to be released. If we don't know how to do that, we keep it all pent up inside of us, and then we need to learn how to cope with that, because that's uncomfortable. The journey to healing is you learning how to release that energy and allow it to flow through you, rather than becoming a bottomless well of emotion. That's why we often drown in our emotions. We feel stuck or feel lost, or they feel too big. And like if we let ourselves feel them, we're going to get lost in them. It's because we're not allowing them to flow, because we didn't learn how. But you can. If you found this valuable and you want more support in your healing journey, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this episode down below in the comments. If you're on Spotify or iTunes, leave a 5-star review. I do super appreciate all the support. Any kind of interaction that you have with this podcast episode helps to support me and helps to push it out to more people, which I super appreciate. Thank you so much. I'll see you next Tuesday for the next episode of Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling.